So in this demo, I would like to show how to add a metrics endpoint to KeyCloak. On the right side, I have OpenShift with the KeyCloak APB provisioned, and can open that now. And the endpoint is reachable at we can see that the data is returned in Prometheus format. How that works is using a provider. So KeyCloak has the concept of an SPI, a service provider interface. It's basically a plugin, and those plugins can hook into the internal events, but can also extend KeyCloak with additional endpoints. We are using both. So we are listening to the internal events to gather the metrics, and we are also extending KeyCloak with an additional endpoint. I would like to show how it works, and let's add another metric to this endpoint and do it on the fly. So here's the code of this plugin. It's using the Prometheus client libraries for Java to produce the metrics. And what we are going to do is we add another metric here, compile the jar file, copy it to KeyCloak, and update the endpoint on the fly. So let's just add a counter here. And let's count the number of HTTP requests this endpoint receives. We need to give it a name. So all the other events for KeyCloak start with KC, so I'm doing the same here. We need to provide a help string, so the Prometheus client libraries require that. And we register the counter. We don't need to provide label names. Those are used if the event has additional information. For example, a login event might have information about the identity provider that is used. We don't need that for our counter. And then let's increase the counter every time the endpoint is called. We can do that in the export event. So this is used to produce the output, the string output from the Prometheus counters and gauges. Now let's build the jar and copy it. I'm copying it directly into the pod. We just need to get the correct name of the pod because it changes after every redeploy. Okay, so what I'm doing to trigger redeploy is I just delete the pod. This will automatically redeploy KeyCloak. There might be a better way, but that's what I'm doing at the moment. And we can see that KeyCloak is starting up again. Those lines indicate that the provider has been loaded. So there's an event listener, and there's also the endpoint. And now we can hit the endpoint again and look for the new counter. And there it is, KC metrics request count. Let's hit this endpoint a few times. And we can see that the counter increases after every time. This is how we produce the metrics for KeyCloak. What we also do is we listen to the internal events of KeyCloak. At the moment, we just log every event that we encounter. We just treat login and log out differently, but there is a lot more information on the events, and if we have a good idea what we want to have on the dashboard, we can extract the relevant information here. What we also do is the Prometheus client library has a number of default metrics. We initialize them, and this gives us a number of useful JVM performance metrics. That was the demo. Thanks.